All right, it's 6:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. All those that can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
And I will roll.
Okay, roll call, please.
All board members are present this evening.
So let's try something. Everybody turn their mics on. Let's see if that.
Oops.
Not you. One at a time. Just remember to turn your mic on when you go to speak. So then turn it off and then turn it off after, but remember to turn it on. Okay. So first item, the agenda. We have an item that was passed out to you about what? You guys need to turn your mics off. There you go. Does that make any difference?
Yes.
Okay. My ears are ringing anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to add an item to new business, item K, 8K, and it'll be auditorium rental discussion. Assuming we approve it, so. So can we get an approval of the agenda as modified?
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support Sylvia.
Woo. Okay, so vote please.
Mr. Howe, Mrs. Cooper, Mrs. Frederick, Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Lewis, yes. Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes. All right. Everybody on Zoom, bear with us because we're trying to figure out this microphone thing here. So, all right, the next item is the consent agenda approval. Motion, please.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support Howe. There you go, right there.
He moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick. Frederick, yes. Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Lewis, yes. Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We'll get this right some point in time here. Okay. The next item is announcements and information. Highland Township office will be closed April 7th, 2023 in observance of Good Friday. The prayer breakfast on Thursday, May 4th for National Day of Prayer will be at the Church of the Holy Spirit. Doors open at 8 o'clock. Event starts at 8:30. And then the Founder's Day Parade and festivities will be on Saturday, May 20th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Parade will be on Livingston Road. It'll begin down at the Nazarene Church still, is that it? And at John Street at the Veterans Park. Okay, so public comment. Judy?
The Garden Club is having a speaker next Monday, April 10th. Carolyn Miller from MSU is speaking on using native plants in urban settings and small lots. It'll be at the Activity Center. Doors open at 6:30 and the speaker begins at 7. Refreshments and raffle.
Any other comments?
I just would like to take a moment and recognize our first responders. for the service to our community that they provided during our shooting incident, a week or so back. I don't think a lot of people that come to work in Highland are thinking that's the kind of stuff they're going to be dealing with. And they handled it fantastically well. We got, Sheriff Bouchard commended the deputies that responded. And I know that the victims received great medical care because they survived and did great. So I want us all to just take a moment to recognize that.
All right. I agree 110% with that. We've got a great group of first responders in our community doing an awesome job. All right, the next item is new business. The first item is hire a full-time assistant to the supervisor. Karen Provo, who's been one of my assistants. Jennifer Frederick was the other one when I first started. And Karen has been, this is year 11, I believe. And she's decided to retire. So I'm in a position where I need to find another individual to take that place. She wears a size 42 shoe, so it's going to be hard to fill. But I think we can do that. I know we can do it. So we had 13 applicants for the job. Reviewing the applications, one applicant stood far and above the rest, and I'd like to introduce that applicant right now, and that's Cassie Blasek, and she's sitting in the audience. So Cassie is a member of the Highland Downtown Development Authority. She's got a master's degree in historical preservation. Your bachelor's degree is in what? Interior design. Her, I have to tell you, I think you guys know that I'm pretty picky about graphics and design and you name it. And her resume was something that belongs in a art gallery, I think. It was awesome. So well put together that it was hard not to look at you as the top candidate. So I'll go ahead and make the motion. I think that I feel proud enough to do that because she's going to be the individual have to put up with me. So I'm going to recommend that we hire. I'm going to make the motion that we hire Cassie Blasek to fill the position of assistant to the township supervisor. Starting pay will be $26 per hour, not to exceed 40 hours per week. Effective start date will be April 10th, 2023. Now that doesn't mean you have to start. That's because we know that there's other things that are involved in it. So on that note,
Support Sylvia.
okay. So is there any discussion?
On the preservation part, will you preserve our lives longer?
All right. I think that we'll do is we'll ask for a vote.
Real quick, can I just
Sure.
comment? I think Cassie is a great candidate too, and I really look forward to working hand in hand with her too. And for those that got this much information, and we did a lot of talking after the memo was written to understand how it would work, especially with Cassie's large amount of time that she spends with the DDA. So from what I understand, you said that Cassie's time while she's here will be on the township and the DDA work will be separate and not be overlapping. Is that correct?
That's correct. So to start with, we're going to have to see how the hours play in. And I think that the reason this question comes up is because the DDA, an employee of the DDA is an employee of the township. So you can't write two separate checks because it's one employee. So it kind of puts a little bit of Cassie has been working for the DDA part-time. And Missy's Dashovich, the director for the DDA, I'm sure is going, oh no, what do I do? But so what we have to do is we have to work in to make sure we can have everything work together. And I know I'm confident that we can make this happen. The hours are up to 40 hours. So if we work 30 hours for the supervisor, or 35 or 37 or 32, it doesn't matter. Just as long as we keep track, pay attention to what we're covering. But I don't think this is going to be an issue to start with. She's got a lot to do to learn. And so I think everything should work out fine.
And so that sounded a little bit less certain about whether she would be doing other things during her time here at the township. You said maybe she'd work for you 32 hours, maybe she'd work 35, or is she committed to 37 and a half hours of township work?
I'm going to be vague and say I don't think we need to worry about that. And I think that the other end of it is she's a township employee. If she works for the DDA, it all adds up and works for the township. So it's a win-win either way. If I'm worried about not getting work done on my end, then that could be a problem. But I think so I don't know. Attorney, would you like to speak on that? Microphone.
I don't think I have enough information to offer you an opinion sitting here today. My thought when you were talking is a concern about overtime if the time overlaps, which is something I think we need to talk about. And I think what Clerk Flowers is concerned about is maybe the accounting aspect of where the time is divided. So those are all logistics that can work out, understanding you don't intend to pay overtime if combined it's over the 37 and a half hours. And you do intend to divide it up between the time allotted to the DDA and the time allotted to the township for accounting purposes. And you'll just have to work out the logistics on how that happens.
And that's my point. We'll work it out as we go along. It's right now, I can't answer any of that specifically. I think I pretty much said it. We'll determine how many hours at that point, and then we'll keep track of them, and accounting can handle it from there. So I don't know what else to say about it.
Okay, I just, when we set her up as an employee, we have to, if there's going to be hours charged to the DDA, then we'll set her up that way. And that's fine. You can charge it by the hour. I'm totally fine with that. I just wanted to be clear if that was the case. So we can account for it correctly. And the DDA fund would be charged for hours that she's doing DDA work. So I'm cool with that.
I'm getting,
So years working in the supervisor's office, he is on the DDA board. And there are things that come up that he needs help with, and that is township work, even though it's for the DDA. My understanding is that Cassie will be working 100% of the time for the supervisor's department. And if something changes, then we will work it out when it happens.
you just muddied the waters. So Cassie's not going to be she's not going to be doing the work for the DDA at all anymore?
You can't 1099 and.
Exactly. I mean, when you're saying 100% for the supervisor's office, that doesn't mean social media for DDA. I mean, Cassie has a job description of what she's doing now for DDA.
Okay. So my answer to that is, if she works for the DDA, we'll track her hours and
Sure.
we'll bill for her hours. Otherwise, she's the assistant to the supervisor, and all the other hours will be attributed to the township. So as she works,
And that's how I understood it.
Yep.
And then when Jenny said when she's,
It's
She's
usually
gonna-
a few months. that
Yeah.
she's Gonna be 100% supervised.
So till we get the bugs worked out, we have to move forward.
so, and the other question I had is 37 and a half hours or 40 hours? The memo says 40.
40.
All the other employees are working 37 and a half.
The only reason we make that limitation is because that's all the hours we're open.
Okay, so the bottom line is overtime.
So overtime.
So under 40.
Right.
Okay,
So what that does is it opens up an hour and a half times 5 days
sure.
that can be allocated towards without affecting the daily time. You know, it's not that she has to work 40. I mean, we'll figure that out. But I mean, at this point,
Getting the job done.
let's get the job done. I need an assistant that can handle the work that two people used to do. So we do have a second assistant, and that's Elaine Krimmel, but she's a part-time person, so. All right, any more
Question.
discussion?
So will someone else be taking her place at DDA? Will someone else be taking your place at DDA? Didn't hear the answer.
To be determined. That's the best we can do. This is one of those scenarios where I think what you're seeing is we have an individual that's got a lot of skill sets and everybody wants her. And I want her more. And she wanted to work here. So she put in her application. So we don't want to short sheet the DDA in any way because Missy does need the help and Cassie's done a phenomenal job. So the way we make it work is we flex it to work and then you just account for it. So track the hours and it's pretty simple. So I think it's simple. Yes, Missy? Right. Well, she's still here, so it's not like she's gone away. So I think the main question that Tammy has is to make sure that there's a way to account for bookkeeping wise for the differential and who's paying who for what work. Even though he said Cassie's an employee of the township, either way we look at it, that's the part that kind of messes with it a little bit. So we have auditors. The auditors want to know how the monies are commingled, so to speak. So that's what this is about. So
I have a question.
That's right. Yeah.
I have a question. Mr. Supervisor, I know in the past when you had Jenny and Karen both working for you, obviously you both were full-time, right? Is everything getting taken care of in your office like it should be with where we are now with a full-timer and a part-timer? I guess that's I'm always big on, I don't want to be shortchanging on services, and it's not like we can't afford to pay to have people working for us. I guess I'm asking you, is it getting covered like it's supposed to? I mean, I know even when Jen and Karen were there, they were running ragged at times trying to get everything done with the two of them. And I thought they were amazing when they were working for you. And I just want to make sure that we're, I guess everything's covered properly, because if not, if something's getting shortchanged, that's not the way it should be.
So I would say that don't run away, Cassie. That wasn't meant to scare you. Yes, we've been able to handle the load the way it is. Occasionally, I do jump back into my old cohort's office and throw some stuff at her once in a while. That's Jennifer, but now we have to start looking at a lot of things that my assistants do. There's some stuff that is probably could be and maybe should be distributed over a broader spectrum of people in the building. But as a general rule, what happens is when you get a new person in, they have to sit in that desk, answer the phone, answer questions, and it creates a whole new job. So it's kind of like you can have a list of all these things I do or you do, and someday a phone call come in and go, oh, that's on the list. Here's how do you handle it? If you got an answer, you give an answer. If you don't, I'll take care of that. And Cassie and I had a good conversation about it in our interview. And when I got into office, Jenny and Karen were as new as green as I was. And we looked at each other and said, what was I thinking, you know? And the truth was, is after day one, it just took off and went, you know, and you have to chase the dog, you know, so.
I just want to make sure that, you know, things are getting, I mean, make sure things are getting done and make sure, you know,
Oh,
not
yeah,
falling behind
yeah.
just because, you know, somebody's now part-time and a full-timers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's actually there's elements that our new our second assistant Elaine, she's taken over that have really made a difference, and you know, streamlined some things like trash is nowhere near as bad as it used to be. So that used to be a real pain in the neck, but that's been pretty much handled. So, all right,
Thank
So-
you.
any more discussion? Right, then I'll call for a vote.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Are you scared? You should be. You're gonna be working for the supervisor. Okay, well, thank you very much. And I appreciate the opportunity. I'm excited about it's kind of like I'm as nervous as you are because we're starting off on a whole new track. So it's like starting over again. So I get enough people ask me if I'm gonna run again, and I'm like, yeah, you know, well, now I gotta support you. So I guess I better. Enough politicking. I didn't mean to do that. So the next item is donation of 2 sheds to community sharing. I know that when we put the sheds in the other building, the whole idea was or the question was, what are we going to do with them? And we had so many people say, I want to buy it. I want to buy it. Well, it turned out that we had uses for them right here within our local government, so to speak. And one of them is community sharing, which they were asking about the sheds. And because they need, believe it or not, they need some other space to be able to store some of the items like the people donate, like bicycles and little odds and ends. So Dave Bell from Community Sharing asked me about purchasing the sheds. And I thought that what we should do is kind of give them an opportunity. You know, if you charge them for the sheds, you take money away from the community aspect. We have an agreement with them. It's a public purpose service contract, which allows us to be able to work with them in that respect. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that if we could, if it is the right word, donate, loan. What's that? I know we can't donate. It's a service contract. Right, which we have a copy of. Based on the service contract. Yeah, donating is one of those things that township cannot donate. And so anyways, I'm not sure of the right language for that, but
Actually, the new contract for this year. And it has in there the amount that we normally give them plus 2 sheds. So, yeah, if we approve this contract, that will
that should suffice.
handle the sheds.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and get this rolling here. I'll make a motion to approve the public purpose service contract with community sharing. Contracts for a one-year term commencing in April 2023. The township agrees to pay contract with a sum of $8,500 and 2 sheds to provide the public services during the contract term.
Support Lewis.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion?
Discussion. So they remain our property? No, okay, so we don't have to worry about insuring the shed. Okay,
Just another quick question. Is somebody going to be hired to move them over there or?
Yeah, we have to move them out of the building. So the
Right.
company that's going to move them out will deliver them to their final resting place.
Okay, great.
Right. Any other comments? If not, then vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is Duck Lake Park Court resurfacing. This has been an issue with these basketball and tennis courts since they've been installed. Not even sure what year they were put in, around 2002 or something like that. And in 2010, they had to be repaired and resurfaced. And to give you an idea of in 2010, we paid $26,100 to repair those courts. And that was not replacing any asphalt. That was just putting basically duct tape over the cracks and then painting them. So Jennifer and I worked on this, but Jennifer did most of the research. We put out feelers trying to find the companies that did the painting in the past are no longer, some of them are no longer around. We had 4 companies that actually responded to our request. And the architect also supplied resources, and 3 of them chose not to quote. So it left us with the one quote that you see in the package, which was $29,700. Included in this is to double stripe the tennis courts so that they're both pickleball and tennis. And we're supposed to, I hope we have concrete this year. That's going to be another problem, is shortage of that. But the courts are supposed to have new cement put down. So this will be brand new surface and won't be a patch. So there's no more Band-Aids put on it and then painted. So I guess I'll go ahead and move this one along too, unless somebody wants to make a motion.
I would recommend that I would move to approve the supervisor to sign the agreement with laser striping and sports surfacing for the basketball courts and tennis courts in the amount not to exceed $29,700.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion?
I would like to note that the motion should have to include waiving the purchasing policy if we want to approve it. I do think because we didn't get response from direct soliciting, I think we should try posting it on BidNet to see if there's anybody else out there that we didn't find on our own, and see if we can get at least one more quote, because I don't know how to judge this proposal based on costs. I don't know if that's a good price or not myself.
Yeah, I'll tell you what'll happen. This guy, this laser striping, this was the comment that I got out of them, and I'm not trying to push this point. but they are booking up for the season. And if we don't give them a response after this board meeting, then we may not even get it striped at all this year. And I think that there's no requirement that we put it on BidNet. We put it out there. People didn't want to bid. They actually responded, said they didn't want to do it. And one company that we had gotten a quote from before, when I looked into this, which was how many years ago? 2015, I think. They were one of the larger companies that worked on these courts, and even they said they didn't want to bid on. So they're either too busy. So I'd prefer not.
Should at least waive the purchasing policy.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I'll make a motion to waive the purchasing policy. Okay,
So we'll amend the motion to include waiving the purchasing policy.
that's fine.
Support.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. That was a good move. Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes no. Mr. Hamel,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Where did my paper go there? All right. So the next item is lawn mowing. Item D. We had once again, we put this out on for bid. And we had 5 responses. One was disqualified for being several days past the opening date, and 4 were valid. The company that actually had the lowest bid was MWG Lawn and Snow Removal. And they had 2, if you look, they had 2 ways that we put out 2 ways to bid it. You could do it weekly or you could do it monthly. And the interesting part is that they had weekly rates and then the monthly rates. And if you did the math on them, all of them made the same mistake. And that's that there's several months that have 5 weeks. So if you did it on a monthly basis, it could work out to our favor. But then if you have, if they do it by the month, then you could end up having a different number there. So anyways, what it works out cheaper by the week when you do the math on it. So I got a hold of MWG to make sure that, and I actually talked to the others as well to tell them that, you know, there is the 5-week math error that you guys didn't get. None of them seem to have an issue with it. So I made the recommendation to do it by the week. And so somebody want to make a motion on that?
Question, is this for lawn service only?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I did get this on my recommendation. I also wanted to see if we could do either, if they wanted to do 1 year or would do up to 3 years. This individual agreed to lock it in for 3 years. So at the rate that this was, it was significant. It was about $3,000 less per year, maybe a little bit more than that, than the next bidder. So if you do that over 3 years, it's a pretty good savings.
The question on that would be, you know, if after the first year their services aren't up to par, we don't want to continue with the contract if it's, so we need some kind of escape if we have a 3-year contract.
We could.
So
I did do some background check on them, and they do Milford High School or the Huron Valley schools. They do all of their fields. They do Commerce Township. They've got a couple other townships they do. So they come highly recommended. So
So is that, yes, we have an option to get out or we're
Or we
bound to a
can,
3-year
we can put
contract?
it in there. I think we always have, I think we've always had that option in our
Okay.
contracts. What's that? No, there is no contract yet.
So which way are you proposing?
I'm proposing that we do $9.50 a week for 3-year contract, and the mowing periods are April 1 through November 30th for 2023, 2024, and 2025. And not to exceed an annual amount of $30,000. That's a motion. We can.
So we could say, subject to the attorney's approval, and have her make sure it looks like when we send her a contract that it does allow us to get out if service is not satisfactory.
The reason I brought that up is that they're doing a great job now, but they could change ownership. Things could change that might be a derogatory to their service. I'm not degrading their current work, just in case something happens that may affect their quality.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem. So with additions. So that's with the attorney's approval of the contract, allowing for a annual review and whatever microphone.
It would just be an addition of a termination provision.
Okay. That was a motion. Yeah.
Cooper support.
Vote please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next items, the next item is a budget amendment for the DDA. Now, Missy, are we going to need this budget amendment?
You can explain if you want.
Yeah, there are some things in there. We're moving some stuff from design. There's some money in there that would have been, this is prior to you, Cassie, winning your new position. So
Do you want me to summarize it for?
yeah, please.
Justin.
Gotta turn it on there.
I did. All right, Missy, this was adding 42,000 to DDA design. It was adding 3,000 to the consultant line and adding 5,000 to the part-time seasonal line. I know that we're gonna need the part-time seasonal for sure. If you want to remove the line to add to the consultant, we could do that now, or we can readjust it later. So just, you're asking us to approve it as is, because this is what your board approved, right?
Yep.
So we need to approve what her board approved, and then we can work on it some more later.
All right.
Okay,
Okay. All right. So I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment for the DDA with the as presented.
Support Lewis.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item. Check these things off as we fly along. Is a budget amendment for fire capital. Tammy, I'll let you take that. You're our,
Yeah,
Eight
there was,
signings.
the last bill from partners came in too late to be paid out of last year. So And we didn't have a budget for this year. This is for Station 2, just the final little bit of Station 2. So we need to get some budget in place this year to pay that bill.
All right. I'll make the motion to approve the budget amendment for fire capital fund as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item. We got another one. That one. Capital fund, okay. The next item is capital improvement fund. And so we're moving forward. It's to roll over unused funds from the prior budget for a year for capital fund township improvements. And also appropriate funds to capital fund township improvements for the current year. This is to partially to cover the cost of landscaping for the building. So it's really the kind of the final. We had 25,000 in there last year, and we need another 25, so we'll put it at around 50. And we should be able to do it for that easily, I think. So, all right, I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment for capital improvement fund as presented.
Support, Sylvia.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please. Yes.
So you said it would be 25 to 50,000, but we're doing a 715,000 amendment. So is that to cover all the costs?
Oh, well, we also have I think the finishing amount for the building, isn't it?
It should be.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not just for landscaping,
right.
addition, okay.
No, the 25,000 is for landscaping. Shoot, I got caught. I thought I was going to be able to have that money. All right. Did we clarify that? Okay, so moved and supported. Who supported that? Okay, so vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item. This is a land lease agreement between the Highland Township and Selco Partnerships, DBA Verizon Wireless. I'm going to pass this off to Jennifer. She has been doing a spectacular job of carrying this thing forward.
So this is for a cell tower at Duck Lake Pines Park. I've been working with John to work out all the details, and I think we have it all set. We do need DNR approval to install a tower at our park, because first, they own mineral rights, and second, we used it to we used grant funds to acquire the property and construct it. So they've given us that approval. We just don't have it in writing. We have to approve this agreement, have the supervisor sign it, and then also approve the resolution, which is the next item.
So one of the key things is that Jennifer found out.
Or that agenda? The resolution? Oh, okay. So in our consent agenda, there was a resolution to commit the commitment of monthly cell tower revenue, and any revenue we get from the cell tower, we will put back into parks. All parks.
So, which is kind of a bonus there. So we appreciate that. And hopefully this will kill the dead zone on Duck Lake Road. I don't know. All right. So need a motion.
I move to approve the supervisor to sign the land lease agreement between Highland Township and Selco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless for the cell tower located at Duck Lake Pines Park.
Support Lewis.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion?
Is there a number of like co-leases allowed? I was looking for that in the paperwork and couldn't find it. I didn't know if it,
So co-leases are based on the height of the tower. Most likely, I'm sure John might know more, but it's the tower itself, the structure and how tall. So
Okay.
if they propose a co-lease, we will get additional rent for each one. So that's how we
Right.
current do it. But you didn't see it in there?
I didn't know if there was a maximum number. And
Mm-mm.
I didn't know how we would know that there was like a
co-lease.
subleasing.
They contact us. It's
Okay.
in the agreement that they have to contact us. We are still the property owner.
Okay,
So with the library and Clyde Road by the fire station, they contact us every time.
okay,
And then we work out a new agreement.
all right.
Moved and supported? Or do we? And we had discussion, any more discussion? All right, vote please.
Okay, Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your coming out. Thanks.
I'm gonna have students.
Now we've got the memorandum
Yes,
of lease.
they do that also.
Why don't I have that?
So you want to just introduce it and then
Yeah. So the next item is a memorandum of lease agreement for lessee site number 659 Duck Lake Road.
I move to approve the supervisor to sign the memorandum of lease agreement between Highland Township and Selco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless for lease site number 659 Duck Lake Road.
Cooper, support.
Okay. Vote please.
Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item. This has been something that's kind of been, I'm gonna call it plaguing the township for a lot of years. We hire people in it for different positions, different responsibilities, different. Unfortunately, sometimes the rates aren't quite the same on an hourly basis for positions. So the in-house officials have been working on this for some time. Jennifer's really been working on it for a number of years. Prior to her being treasurer. So but in a recent review of our hourly rates for employees, it's become apparent that the bookkeeping assistance hourly rate which is currently $17.94, is currently out of balance as it relates to the level of responsibility in the years of service. Bookkeeping is a thing of its own. I mean, it's not something that anybody could just walk into and be successful at. And you certainly don't want to have somebody that's constantly second guessing what they're doing and or putting an extra load on the bookkeeper. So our current assistant is been doing a phenomenal job, and we've determined that we thought that she needed to be brought up to be paid with commensurate to what her skill sets and abilities are. So I'd like to make a motion to increase her rate of pay to $20 per hour, effective the beginning of the next pay period. She is part-time, so it's 20, not to exceed 29 hours. That's a motion.
Cooper support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, let's vote, please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item, you got some information on your on the board table here when you showed up, and this is something that was brought to Tammy's attention. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Tammy.
Sure. So it's been a long couple years with COVID and changing buildings, but we're now getting ready to allow groups to begin using the auditorium again. And in review of where we stood with things, it seemed to me that nonprofit groups that were not like homeowners associations or lake boards should flow through the activity center rental system. Okay, the activity center can rent out this building or this room, but she requires a deposit and she manages dealing with them, and potentially there is rental. She could waive the rental in some nonprofit situations. Whereas the lake boards and the homeowners associations, we don't charge a deposit because it's just a lot of paperwork, because they're in through here quite a bit, and having to deposit their deposit checks and then reissue checks every time would just be, it's not required. We know who these people are. We know where to find them if something happens, if key gets lost or what have you. So I attempted to implement that plan, and a group gave me pushback on it, and I thought I'd bring it to you guys for clarification. The one particular group does have political involvement, so that's another kind of thing. There's all kinds of groups out there that could potentially use the room, such as Girl Scout troops, or another one that's asked for us is the Special Olympics committee has asked about using the room. I just think to divide them and say, all right, anybody that's not a homeowners association or lake board should go through the regular rental process and have a deposit. So I wanted to get your feedback on that, if we should continue with that plan, or if I should make it available without a deposit to any nonprofit group, including political groups.
I like the way you're presenting it. And there's also, they added with the new building of getting into the building and making sure that it's locked. And with the activity center, they already have in place where they can hire or assign security for a couple hours, like to let them in and then to make sure everything's locked up when they're gone. So I would think that homeowners, lake board associations, and anything that's affiliated with the township, DDA, historical society, garden club. I mean, it would be our choice, but anything that's not associated with the township should go through the activity center for rental.
What is the? Oh, sorry.
Mike, who? So the lake boards and the homeowners associations would be using this room, and that's it.
The other groups could potentially rent this room, but they would work with
through.
Heidi
Okay,
and fill out a contract, her contract, as opposed to our very simple contract. And she would charge a deposit at a minimum, and potentially also charge a small room rental fee to cover her costs.
okay.
Now, and I don't think we necessarily need a motion or a policy developed. I can handle this, but I wanted to know where the board stood on it.
Okay.
If we have consensus about it, that's fine. If somebody has a major objection to this plan, speak now. Otherwise, I'll just implement it.
Well, I think you really need to define what groups are directly connected to the township. So we don't get any, the garden club is not really directly connected to the township, right?
The garden club is directly,
How is it? Tell me how it's directly
so up
connected.
until last year, we would give them funds every year to beautify Highland Township.
Okay,
And we still have a couple projects that we do maintain.
all right. What was the other one you mentioned?
Historical Society, DDA.
I'm just asking the
Yep.
question. I don't know if they're connected or not, so that's why I'm asking the question.
Lisa, go ahead, put your mic on, please.
I'm sorry, I don't know this off the top of my head, but do you already have a facility use policy in place? And if not, then I think that's something that you ought to consider putting in place, which can address all of that. And I mean, we have communities that have them already and they lay out the process for every organization. They categorize the organizations. It sounds like it's exactly what you intend to do, but in a written policy. It also addresses smoking on public property, vaping, all of those things that generally can be an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm
Go ahead.
open to working and develop that and bring it back next month if that's what the board would like.
That's a good idea.
I'm concerned about security now when you start bringing groups in. Who vets the people coming in? Should we have someone on site representing the township at any event where people are coming in? Otherwise, we lose focus on that. Do the groups coming in, do they have possibly an insurance rider to insure our interests if they're coming in? I don't know. These are questions that need to be addressed, I think, to be safe. I don't think a $200 deposit, if a fire gets started or somebody damages something, is going to compensate. Does our insurance policy cover us for that?
Yes,
And any activity that goes on in this room?
Yes.
Is covered. Okay. Thank you.
I think one of the things that, it's not that I want to stop people from using it, but in light of especially, I hate to go political, but we have documents in this building that really are something that need to be protected. Yes, we have doors and we have locks and stuff, but this particular facility is not really hardened. And once somebody says, "Oh, I know the combination of that door," you've breached anything you have. Where if you use the building next door and the facility next door, those keys don't work in this building. And the other part is that, and I'm not saying we don't want people here, but it needs to be people who are responsible enough to understand the importance of what's in this building. I mean, so when you've got people complaining about unfair elections and people, stealing ballots or whatever they're doing, it could be construed that they're in this building and somebody might go looking for them. And so we have to be very careful to address this somehow. And I think using the activity center as the kind of the tool, they have people that they will hire for security. I'm not particularly interested in coming in here whenever somebody wants to use the place. I will say that the PA system, until we get this thing completely figured out, is off the table. I don't want anybody messing with it. It's too, I've had enough little things that I've done to it myself that I have to keep track of, but I don't want to have to point where we've got to have elected officials showing up to supervise the building, and then us having to also figure out how we're going to bill for it and all that. It's way easier to do it through the activity.
Was our prior policy giving people a key to the building?
Yeah.
So that's not a good
Let me
idea.
explain. Okay, so in the old building, it was shaped different and we did give them a key to the door to the auditorium only. And then we locked the door that prevented them from coming into the office space. But
But-
we don't, I mean, we have gates now and, you know, I would never intend for the code to be given out to anybody other than township employees. But that's why going through the activity center contract, that allows for a security person and the management of all of that. So
Right.
we'll develop a policy and bring it back to you guys.
Well, I think we're blessed. We just had our subdivision meeting last week, I think, at the fire station network. I mean, I think not all communities have what we have now. We've got with the activity center, we've got the great room up at the fire station. We have lots of flexibility where some communities probably just have a township boardroom or whatever to use for certain groups. So I think we really need to, I think in this day and age, it's not like it's the old days, you know, in this day and age, you got to watch everything. And I agree. I don't want to be rotating basis. We have to come up here and supervise. I mean, that's just not right. And have to worry every time you got a group coming in. What if, you know, and all of a sudden something's not working right or whatever. I'm not saying we can't trust people, but then again, you can't sometimes. It just is what it is. And they don't take it as serious as we do and value as much as we do, I think, at times. And it's nothing against anybody in the community, but they don't have the same skin in the game, so to speak. But we got such nice facilities in a lot of different places that it's not like we're locked into one nice place. We've got a lot of nice places to go. So I thought it worked out great. They had the table set up in the square and everybody was very impressed and it was perfect. Yeah, it's fire hall. So anyways,
The other thing is this place is an echo chamber and I think that just about everybody that's used it, they go, we need to go someplace else because they can't handle the echo. So until we get that handled, which might take a year or so to get that under control. But we had the seniors in here doing exercise a couple days a week in the morning, and they all said we can't stand it because it's echoing and they can't hear the gentleman that's, you know, calling out the commands, and they chose to go back over to the activity center. So you can see that it has its pluses and minuses. I think this is the best the audio's been since we got in there. So
Yeah.
You can hear that? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Join the crowd. All right. So,
I just want to say one more thing. Tammy, it goes back to too. I think we don't need more things on your plate. You know, I agree with that. I think it's not, you know, so if Heidi's willing and that's okay with them. I think that's great. That's somebody kind of divvying the workload up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that.
it's really, bookkeeping is one of the bigger issues.
I was saying it's where the revenue
People
goes.
don't, when you tell them, oh, your deposit tag, it's gonna be deposited and you're gonna have to request a check, a refund, and it's gonna take a couple of weeks. People aren't thrilled with that. So we're just,
Shouldn't be a big deal.
right.
And the auditors don't like you holding checks in a drawer either. So that's a no-no. All right.
Why does it have to be a deposit? Why can't it be just a fee? You know, that way we don't have to worry about refunding it. They want to use the facility. You know, we go to the school, right? I think the school to use the auditorium in the school, there's a fee that you have to pay. Different groups that would use that have to pay a fee for that. It's not, I know that. Okay. All right. Just a suggestion. Okay.
All right. Well, Tammy, thanks for working on that because I know has a little bit of a stressful edge to it, and we need to take that part away. So we'll look forward to what you come up with, and if we need to work with the attorney, please do. She's bored out of her mind. Oh, she's not, I guess. All right. On that note, then, if there's nothing else, the meeting's adjourned.
So yeah.